lead over the president. But now the Real Clear Politics average is showing a much closer race. Joining us now to talk more about this and other issues, Minneapolis Mayor and Vice Chairman of the Democratic National Committee, R.T. Rybak. Mayor Rybak, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
I know there are still many months to go before the November election, but the fact that you have been showing that we've been seeing that Mr. Romney is leading in some of these polls right now, is that reason for concern for Democrats?
Well, I never supported the president because of polls. I supported him because he's a great leader. And as you mentioned, today he's there with police officers. And as a mayor in America, I know that he was responsible during the height of the economic calamity of getting resources for us to put police officers and firefighters on the job. You can take that sort of experience throughout all of America and know that this has been a president who stood with people who were out of work and got them back on the job. 25 straight months of private sector job growth, saw an auto industry collapsing, and he stood up, and now we're making 1 million more cars in America. So we're going to be focused on a record of a president who's done terrific work, and a choice between that and somebody who wants to go back to the bad old days that got us into the mess that he inherited.
So it's your contention that polls come and go, and there's still a long way to go before we know who's really going to be coming out on top on this one?
Short answer is yes. You know, you can find polls saying all sorts of different things, and the important thing is that I think the American people have seen the president perform under the toughest circumstances a president has had in decades, and he's someone who hasn't taken the easy path. He stands up for working class America, and at a period of time where we have over several decades seen more and more wealth concentrated at the very, very top end, the president says, hey, America's America. We should make money. That's a good thing, but we should have a fair system that gives everybody a chance to succeed. And we don't want to go back to the strategy that somehow concentrating wealth in a very few hands and cutting regulation on those who had been gaming the system will somehow make things better. That's what collapsed the economy. The president's about getting people to work and focus on all of us having a fair shot.
Well, I know your city's faring pretty good in these tough economic times. What impact is the unemployment rate and higher gasoline prices, for example, having on folks in your city?
Well, you know, the president took office at a time when we were losing 750,000 jobs a month, and he got to work right away, and he laid out a stimulus package that put Americans back to work. And then, as a mayor, I get to be able to take some of the tools the president's gotten us, the ability to put loans in the hands of small businesses to create jobs, to get veterans back here into our country and give them jobs. And I get to see that on the street each day to help keep people from being foreclosed in their homes. So that's the kind of thing that I see every day here. And I think part of what is important in my job at the DNC, I get to travel around the country and get to lots of cities. And you know, I was in Scranton a couple of weeks ago, and this is a city that faced tough economic calamities, and then they know that there's a president who's helping to make sure the people who make auto parts in that part of the country can stay on the job. That's the kind of thing that I think we're going to just keep talking about.
You know, we've been hearing a lot over the last few days about the culture wars and concerns about social issues. How important do you think these issues are going to be in your state for the presidential contest?
You know, I think the most important thing that people want, not just, you know, political people, but real folk, really want to look at this idea of, can we have leadership that will bring us together instead of drive us apart? Now, social issues have been used to drive a wedge between people for a long, long time. That's not the way the president does things. The president's a healer and a person who tries to bring people together. The statement he made that everyone deserves an equal chance to marry the person they love is that kind of leadership. It's not poll-driven. It's not easy. It's controversial, but that's what leaders do. They stand up and they make tough choices. Sadly, he's up against a guy named Mitt Romney who has changed his views depending on the audience and often doesn't, frankly, have the guts to stand up and do what the president does, which is to take a tough stand. So culture wars, I think, hopefully will be more about choices between a president who is a leader who brings people together and someone who, Mitt Romney, wants to go back to the past and I think has chosen the easy way out. Say whatever you can to whatever audience you can. Go wildly in one direction during the primaries and caucuses that were, as obviously you covered, deeply divisive, versus a president who in the toughest of times has brought us together.
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good to be here.
Shipping electronic items to loved ones overseas is about to get more difficult. Why the post office is creating new rules involving